My ex had a thing for kids. I ignored the signs and paid the price. So, I thought it was a little strange at first that a 28-year-old man wanted to date a 17-year-old girl. But he told me he thought I was older when we first met, so I just chalked it up to me being more mature than my age. That should have been my first red flag. I worked at a retail store with other people around my age, some younger, so some were still freshmen. Sometimes we'd go out to dinner after work and my boyfriend would sometimes join. I started to notice him checking out one of my 15-year-old coworkers. One time as he drove me home, he asked, "Is that girl really 15? She dresses way too provocative for her age." But I know he was just putting on an act of being flabbergasted because I just knew by the way he stared at her. After this I stopped bringing him around my coworkers after a while. During some of the time I was a senior, I was living with my uncle. He had pictures on his walls of all his nieces and nephews because he loved and was so proud of us all, and he didn't have any children of his own. The first time my boyfriend came over the house he noticed one of the larger pictures of me on the wall. I was probably 9 or 10 in the photo, and I took gymnastics at the time, so I was wearing a leotard. He pointed it out and said, "Wow. You were so cute back then." At first it seemed innocent, but whenever he came over he couldn't stop staring at that picture. He started getting braver and more direct with his words too as time went on. He'd reference the picture to me and say things like, "You were so good looking even at that age." Or, "If I knew you back then as a kid myself, I'd totally want to do you." Over time he started to say things like he hoped one day he had a daughter that looked just like me. He also told me he enjoyed watching step-parent adult films and asked if I ever thought about things like that, or even about relatives in general. When he asked about that my alarms started to go off in my head and I think he noticed, so he never mentioned it again. One of the last straws though, was when I saw him looking at two 13-year-old girls when he didn't think I was looking. That was about a week before I broke up with him, and a few days before he laid hands on me the second time in our relationship. Our breakup was messy and he threatened to unalive me, only to come back begging a few days later, but I stood my ground and let the man baby walk out crying. After we broke up, I thought I'd try to remain friends and keep the peace. But he was obsessed. He was so angry that I was the one who broke up with him, even though he had broken up with me many times throughout our relationship. He ended up stalking me for months. Once he got a new girlfriend, he started to back off. In the end I blocked him on everything and changed my number. After our breakup, I remembered that a while back he had borrowed my portable disk drive because he didn't have one. He was a cheap a-hole and didn't want to buy one, so he borrowed my stuff all the time. He needed it to transfer files from his old computer to his new computer. He asked me specifically if he could trust me to hold his files for him but not look at anything. It was really important to him to save the files onto the disk drive right away, because he thought his old computer was going to kick the bucket really soon. Me wanting to be the trustful good girlfriend I was, I promised him I wouldn't look at the files, and that as soon as the files were transferred, I would delete them. Well, I never deleted them. So I went through his files, curious as to what he was hiding. What I found still disturbs me to this day.